Well, here is the ATM, all right, the automated teller machines. It's a type of point-of-sale terminal that's unattended, but available by using or for use by the customer. Now, the recommended internal control guidelines for ATMs would include those described for EFT, but they should also have things like written policies and procedures about covering the personnel, the security controls, the operations, disaster recovery, credit and check authorization, any limits that are on there, any overrides, any settlements and balancing. Now, the procedures should be in place for the issuance of a PIN number, and there should be a process to reconcile all of the general ledger accounts. We also need to ensure that the retrieval of a stored PIN is not done in an unsecured manner. So let's take a look at the audit of an ATM. You're going to look for things like reviewing the measures that is established for proper customer identification and maintenance of that confidentiality. You want to review the file maintenance and retention systems to be able to trace transactions, the ability to review the exception reports, the review of the daily reconciliation of transactions, and there, right, we want to make sure there are some segregation of duties in the things like opening up of the ATM and recounting the money, right? I mean, we want, some separations there. We also want review procedures for the retained cards. Yes, sometimes ATMs keep your cards. We also want to review the encryption key change management procedure. In other words, encryption keys are supposed to change. If you keep the same key for too long, over time people are going to know the key. They're going to have hacked it, and then they own your machine. Image processing is an image system that stores, retrieves, processes graphic data as well as text data. Now, these systems usually require a large amount of storage. Now, the systems include techniques that can identify levels of shades and colors that can't be seen by the human eye. The uses of these systems could include them in processing, such as recognition of currency or signatures. We see that they can help increase productivity. They can improve control over paper files. They have a longer retention, and we also need to make sure they have enhanced disaster recovery procedures. Especially important because a lot of times these images are, things like money or checks, or, you even see them in ATM machines. I know with my bank, I can take a wad of up to, I think, 40 different types of bills, stuff it into the little slot, and it counts it for me and recognizes it, and, all that sort of stuff. So anyway, so that's part of what image processing is. It can also be, scanning checks that you're, since you no longer, I'm assuming, get your checks back in the mail from the banks. Now, new controls should be developed and designed to ensure that the information image files can't be altered or erased or lost. The auditor should be aware of the following controls over the imaging systems, to include things like planning. If there's a lack of planning, that may result in excessive installation costs or even the destruction of original documents and not meeting the expectations of the business. Of course, auditing. There should be audit procedures in place, not just the one you might conduct, or maybe you're a part of that, but they should be designed for the process of verifying information that has lost the original checks and balances in a paper system. And that's important because in a paper system, right, we had a check and balance, but here it's all in one. We also want to look at how it redesigned the workflow. We want to have an audit of the scanning device. Now, these should determine that they can meet the volume of documents needed and that they've been maintained to avoid poor quality images. That includes, right, even the glass. If it's scratched or it's marred, that's going to cause problems with the images themselves. We also want to look at the software security and audit the training that people are receiving on utilizing these different imaging systems. Business intelligence is a field that covers the collection and dissemination of information that can be used in the decision-making process and help improve organizational performance. This should help us in the reduction of process costs, making them efficient and quality. Should help with customer satisfaction with product and service offerings, staffing business unit achievement of key form indicators, and also in the identification of unusual transaction patterns. Now, I hate to say this, but in a lot of ways, business intelligence, we're seeing a lot of that use in the world of marketing. Right? The whole idea of tracking cookies is to see what people are interested in when they do searches or when they go to different commerce sites. So that if I'm a large company that has a variety of products to sell you, and I can track the types of sales and the things you're interested in, right? That's now information that helps me in the decision-making process that maybe I can market to you better than if I just said, here's a catalog. All right, so business intelligence is designed and can be used in the pursuit of the competitive advantage for an organization, kind of like I just talked about with the way we might market people based on the information we gather. The DSS is a decision support system. Now, this is an interactive system that provides the user with easy access to decision models and data from a wide range of sources to kind of help them in a semi-structured decision-making task that they would use for business purposes. We could use these for comparative sales figures between one week and the next. We might use these for projected revenue figures based on new product sales. We can even have a comparison of consequences to different decision alternatives based on past experience. The framework of DSS characterizes activities in two dimensions: the degree of structure in the decision process being supported, and the level of management where the decision-making takes place. The framework also talks about distinct type of problems, such as the management level dimension, right? That would be your operational control, management control, and strategic planning. And we also have it on the decision structure dimension, whether it's structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. CRM, what we call the customer relationship or the relation management, is the merging of business trends to be focused on the wants and needs of customers. Now, this will emphasize the importance of focusing on information that relates to transaction data or to customers' preferences, their purchase patterns, their status, demographic information, and the service trends of customers rather than on the products themselves. Supply chain management is a linking of business processes between related duties, such as a buyer and the seller. This link is provided to all connected areas, such as managing logistics and the exchange of information, services, and goods among suppliers, consumers, warehouses, wholesalers, and the manufacture of goods. The SCM is all about managing the flow of goods and services and information, as I said, between the suppliers, the manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, consumers, and all of the end users. The use of SCM in the supply chain can help in reducing required available inventory. This can create an automated flow of supply and demand. I guess a fancy way of saying this is, as I'm watching my supply chain management, if I know that a certain item just doesn't sell all that well, I don't want to just order 10 of them because that's what I've always ordered. I'll get one or two, and if I start seeing trends that tell me I need more, then I can add this in there that says, hey, we're selling these items now, and continue that flow of supply and demand, hopefully avoiding having product go to waste or just sit on a shelf and get dusty.